Hello and welcome to round 6 of live coverage here at the Apex Gaming home store, Caldwell, Ohio. This is a Pioneer $2,000 open. I'm Tandy, joined by Ross Merriam. Say hi, Ross.
Hi, Ross. Thought you weren't going to do it there for a second.
I never know exactly what I'm going to say when I start talking. It's kind of like a freight train, and sometimes I just forget what I'm about to say. Anyway, we have 5 rounds in the books. We're about to reach round number 6, the last round of Swiss, and I have some good news and some bad news. The good news is we already have a top 8. Ross, why don't you give us a top 8?
The bad news is we already have a top 8.
The bad news is none of our matches that we're watching this round are winning it.
Yeah, so ended up being a clean cut. Top 4 tables all drew, were players that were 4-1 or better going into this round. So congratulations to Daniel Staup on Mono Green Devotion, Mason Clark on Mono Green Devotion, Jacob Heckert on Mono Green Devotion, Andrew Wolthius on Boros Heroic,
He's going to win.
Kyle Montgomery on Bant Lotus Field, Franklin Folks on Mono White Aggro, and Cody Hill on Gruel Vehicles, and Brendan Lane on Mono Green Devotion.
So that's a full half of the top 8 is on Mono Green Devotion, but there's 4 unique decks in the top 8 as well, that many of which I think can prey on Mono Green Devotion's weaknesses.
Yeah, if I'm Cody Hill, I'm not feeling that great about this top 8, but Franklin on Mono White, Kyle on the Bant Lotus Field, and Andrew Wolthius on Boros Heroic, all a deck that should have strong Mono Green matchups, so those 3 players look to be sitting pretty.
Yeah. All right. Well, we have our top 8, and that is what it's going to be. But we have to see how the tiebreakers shake out based on this last round finishing up. So,
Yeah. Also got players battling it out for $65 in cash for the top 16. So a little money on the line for these matches.
Yeah.
We're going to be watching some players at
get you some McDonald's.
3-2, trying to get that last win, walk away with some cash.
All right. Well, why don't you tell the people at home the match we are going to be watching next for round number 6, our last round of Swiss.
So we're going to be watching Cody Vandeveer, who took a loss to Daniel Staup in round 4. Seems like they also took a loss in round 5, so unfortunate 3-0-2 for them. Going to be playing against John Alloy on Grixis Dredge. Cool little brew. Got a lot of blue enablers, otherworldly gaze, tome scour, breaking and entering.
We
Stealth mill.
We talked a little bit about Otherworldly Gaze yesterday because we did have real Dredge on camera. And while Faithless Looting is banned, Otherworldly Gaze fills a similar role in the archetype. And I think that it's an excellent card for Pioneer as well for doing exactly the same thing.
And you have access to Prized Amalgam, to Narcomoeba now since it's been reprinted, and to Creeping Chill and Silver Smoke Ghoul.
Right.
And one thing I like about the Pioneer build of this deck, they play Cat Oven combo as well, because you can mill into the cat. But if you just sack something
That's
and
cool.
get a food
It brings
with
back Amalgam and it brings back Silver Smoke Ghoul. That's
yes,
great.
the
That's
food
awesome.
sacrificing a food, getting you 3 life is another way to bring back ghouls, so you're not just relying on the creeping chills. So that's a really cool aspect of the deck and one that hopefully serves them well. But the Greasefang deck goes way over the top of the Parhelion.
Yeah,
That
it's
could
2
be a
graveyard
problem.
decks kind of doing their own thing. Welcome to Pioneer. Let's head on down to the feature match and watch round number 6 from the Apex Gaming Pioneer 2K Open. We got the Greasefang pilot on your right. We got the Dredge pilot on your left. John Alloy versus Cody Vandeveer. How do you say that?
I've been going with Vandeveer. So that's the more Dutch way of pronouncing it.
Vandeveer. All right, cool.
If I told you Cody went 3-0 and then lost to Mono Green twice, would you believe me?
Yes, that's Greasefang's MO. Literally beat all the people ignoring you, except Mono Green because of Karn. All right, here's Stitcher Supplier. Going to mill 3. I saw another Worldly Gaze. Hard to get a good look at the rest. Maybe we get our table spotter to have the graveyard be a little bit more visible if we could. Cody Vandeveer going to lead off with a Thoughtseize and take Tome Scour. Tome Scour has gotten like some spotlight in the past couple years. It was always like a meme, like a joke. Like we made fun of Tome Scour for being horrible. And then there came a Lotus Field combo deck that could loop it with Underworld Breach, and then there came a bunch of cool self-mill stuff and a bunch of bannings, and suddenly Tome Scour looks a lot more desirable when you're milling 5 for 1 blue.
Yeah, just the most efficient enabler they have. We got Tome Scour, the Stitcher Supplier, and Otherworldly Gaze at 1 mana, and then Breaking and Entering at 2.
Yeah, Breaking and Entering pretty cool, but Cut to Ribbons, one of the cards found off this Tome Scour, could be a big damage dealer later on, but no explosiveness from John Alloy. This is not real Dredge. This is not the modern deck. It is a little more just a resilient beatdown deck with a bunch of creatures that can keep coming back over and over to get through Supreme Verdict and the like.
Yeah, and a lot of reach between the 4 Creeping Chills and that 1 copy of Cut to Ribbons that's already been milled over.
All right, Stitcher Supplier getting a little frisky, jumping over on the other side of the board to smack Cody around. Now we have Ox of Agonis going to be the big play from the graveyard for John Alloy, and he is about to go discarding his hand and drawing 3. And I saw a prized amalgam somewhere in the hand and graveyard combination. It looks like 2 in hand, actually.
Well, unfortunately, those prized amalgams don't hit the graveyard until after the Ox trigger resolves, so the amalgams don't see the Ox entering and trigger themselves.
Unfortunate. We draw 3. We see Otherworldly Gaze, and so now if we hit Narcomoeba off this, it will bring back both prized amalgams. So we're going to take a look.
Could also hit Chill plus Silver Smoke Ghoul.
3 lands. We're going to put at least 2 of them into the graveyard, I think. Or maybe it wasn't a land.
It was 2 lands and a Tome Scour, so the lands went to the yard, Tome Scour back on top for next turn.
All right, here's a Grizzly Salvage. Again, both players using their graveyard as a resource, filling it up with various spells, looking for their combo pieces. We're going to look for Parhelion to put in the graveyard, and we don't find it.
That's
Cody
good news for
untaps.
John.
Just means he has more time, which is what you really want at all times against Greasefang. Here's Rafine's Informant, going to draw and discard, and there's the Parhelion. Put a counter from the Connive on there. Looking for land number 3 and a Greasefang over the next 2 turns. Cody, Concealed Courtyard in hand. Going to play Temple Garden tapped or Concealed Courtyard untapped. There it is.
Might as well play the Courtyard. You can play the Temple Garden tap next turn if you want to.
Yep. I saw an Eskus Chariot hanging out in hand. I did not see Greasefang. I'm curious if he has access to one. Oh, I think I saw one in hand actually, just now. I think it was one of the alternate art ones. Maybe the Akira slide one. Have they made that? Or is that in my head?
The what?
Have you never seen Akira, the movie?
No.
Classic anime. There's a shot that's so sick where the main character is like sliding sideways on his bike, and the way that they do the animation is rad. And I've seen that animation, but with Greasefang.
Cool. Ox of Agonis trades for the Rafine's Informant, and that's going to keep Cody's life total relatively high. Not a ton of pressure. Has some time to find that Greasefang, and once he does, the game should end pretty quickly in his favor.
Yeah, well, now, though, the Ox of Agonis is going to get to come back, and this time it will get seen by those prize amalgams, and they'll come back as well. John Alloy really just zooming here. Going to exile a bunch of stuff that's not those prize amalgams. Ox is going to come back with a counter on it from the escape. We're going to discard hand and draw 3. Very Bedlam Reveler-esque.
Yeah, this keeps the gas flowing. Going to have 12 power on the battlefield after this turn ends.
All right, and a tap Darkslick Shores, and we're going to go back Cody Vanderveer's way after these prize amalgams enter the battlefield. Let's see if we have Greasefang. There it is. Going to bring back Parhelion. We're going to crew it. We're going to swing. That's 5 from it, 8 from the Angels. That's 13 damage. Alloy down to 3. Parhelion, or 5, excuse me. Parhelion going to return to hand, but the Angels stay in play.
Yeah, they can check the 2 prized amalgams. Cody can easily take 6 damage from the other 2 creatures, the Ox and the Supplier, and then have lethal in the air on the crackback.
You know, cut ribbons, not Conflagrate. You know, Conflagrate can do some serious burst damage, but cut the ribbons a little bit leaner.
Only 3 cards in John's hand anyway.
All right, John draws for turn. It looks like Mana Confluence, Cauldron, Witch's Oven, and unknown third card, maybe another Ox of Agonis. And this is not going to be close to a lethal attack, and Cody Vanderveer is going to win game number 1.
Yeah, both decks doing somewhat similar things, but the Parhelion just trumps. That's the trump card over everything that either deck is doing, so Alloy's going to have to find some way to disrupt the Greasefang plan because he is unlikely to be able to race it.
All right, well, actually, I take it back. The Witch's Oven can sacrifice the Stitcher Supplier. We can mill 3, maybe hit 3 Creeping Chills. Maybe we have to do it post-combat. We don't have any way to grant haste, and that 1 extra damage could come up big time. All right, that's it. That's the out. Okay, attack with everybody. The prize amalgams get eaten. Now, Cody could decide to stop that potential line by trading with Ox of Agonis, but I think that that's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, I would not want to trade either of these Angels. Also, notably, Alloy not including Narcomoeba in the deck. Decided that that's not something he wants. He's going for a more recursive theme and resilient rather than explosive, so doesn't really have a way to put any blockers in front of these angels.
That's interesting. Narcomoeba was always the easiest and best way to bring back Prize Amalgam, but when I was building these types of decks in Pioneer years ago, Narcomoeba was pretty weak. It was literally only good against or for bringing back Prize Amalgam, and there was no way like Cabal Therapy or Dread Return to have another payoff for it.
Yeah, those really were the things that turned Narcomoeba into something much more desirable, and neither of those cards available in Pioneer.
No attack from the Ox of Agonis. I don't
Sure.
understand. Oh,
Oh,
okay.
just thinking about it. Turn them all sideways, John.
Okay. We're gonna block the 1/1 probably only.
I mean, Cody might just have a way to discard this Parhelion again, and then
I guess
it
that's
really
also
doesn't matter.
true. Yeah, good call.
Then you can play this turn much more defensively. I think that's the only thing that makes this trade make sense.
Okay.
Could also have a Witherbloom command, I guess. You can use the Drain Life mode, so then one Angel is lethal.
Gonna sack. Find Silver Smoke Ghoul. There's one Creeping Chill.
Ooh. Now he needs the Parhelion because we're gaining 3 life off the Creeping Chill, and we generate a food token that can gain 3 more life. That puts John to an effective 11.
All right. Prize Amalgams here are holding back the Greasefang. We thought it was over, but maybe John Alloy is going to be able to squeak back in here. That Silver Smoke Ghoul is going to come back.
Yeah, and you got to figure now he's sort of kicking himself to not having attacked with those amalgams. So they're going to come back anyway. They're not really useful as blockers.
Well, everything was going to be tapped and not be able to block the Greasefang. You're going to get smacked for 8.
You got a ghoul.
The Silver Smoke Ghoul enters untapped?
Maybe they probably enter tapped.
I don't know. Let's get Silver Smoke Ghoul on the screen. Let's take a look. I know it's a 3-cost 3/1. It has a couple different abilities on it, but the main one is that it comes back to the battlefield from the graveyard if
Yeah,
you
it's
gain
tapped.
life this turn.
They're always tapped.
But you can spend 2 and sack it and draw a card. So the design for this is mostly in a life gain deck to just continually sack it, draw a card, gain some life, and bring it back. But with Creeping Chill and now Cat Oven, it has some extra life.
Hey, John thinking about trying to escape this Ox of Agonis, but then gives it a second thought. Maybe either doesn't have enough cards to escape or has some cards he really doesn't want to exile for the escape cost.
All right. John really in the tank here. Might have found a way to not be dead, but gonna tap 2 here. I guess play Otherworldly Gaze from the graveyard. And that's going to give him enough for the Ox while leaving all of those graveyard-centric things, perhaps. And a Prized Amalgam. 2 more Silver Smoke Ghouls. Holy moly. If Cody doesn't have a way to kill John next turn, this could be horrible for Cody.
Yeah, really gonna need the Parhelion. Checking out. Oh, there's a Rafine's Informant in Cody's hand.
Okay, so Cody's just been looking at this Rafine's Informant for about 5 minutes,
Yeah.
thinking, can
This
we
is just-
please hurry it
The
up?
sound and the fury signifying nothing here for John Alloy.
All right, we're going to discard hand. We're going to draw 3, and then 2 Silver Smoke Ghouls will return. And then Cody Vanderveer is going to play Rafine's Informant, discard Parhelion, bring it back with Greasefang, crew it, and smack. All right. Impressive stuff from John Alloy's deck, honestly, but the Greasefang deck just doing a very similar thing, but it has haste.
Yeah, would have beaten a lot of draws out of the Greasefang deck. Turn 4 Parhelion with the namesake card was just a little bit too fast for John to beat.
All right, here is Rafine's Informant. We're going to go Conniving. That's going to discard the Parhelion. We're going to bring it back. We're going to crew it. We're going to smack.
And this should be an attack for 17.
All right, John packs it in. Game number 1 to Cody Vanderveer. Now, as these players are shuffling up, getting ready for game number 2, I'm going to have my main man, Ross, take a look at their sideboard and give us his expert analysis on how he thinks they're going to react.
Well, I said John needed to get more interactive, and he has some good tools to do that. His sideboard is 4 Lightning Axe,
Bang.
4 Unmoored Ego,
Taking them all.
2 Liliana of the Veil, 2 Spell Pierce, 2 Abrade, 1 the Meat Hook Massacre. I like the axes. I like the Unmoored Egos. I like the Abrades.
I love Axe. I think Axe is an extremely underrated card in Pioneer, and I think more decks should just be playing it because it's a one-cost thing that can kill Sheoldred. But any deck that's graveyard centric, I think it's a home run, and I'm actually kind of surprised to not see it in the main deck.
Yeah. Now the hard part for John is 10 cards to bring in is probably a little too many.
Right.
This is a very engine centric deck. You can't cut too far into the engine or your deck doesn't really work. So it'll be a question of just how many of these cards he can afford to bring in.
Now you're like a Dredge master from back in the day. I know that you have
Played a lot of it.
I know that like you have a lot of modern Dredge under your belt. Now, when you were sideboarding with modern Dredge, what were the types of things that you would normally be cutting from your deck for your sideboard answers?
Because the engine requires you to have a little bit of everything, you do have to cut a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Keep those ratios generally the same. So, a couple of your weakest recursive creatures. Maybe you trim one ox. Maybe you trim one cat. Maybe these scrapwork mutts, are a
Right.
luxury you can no longer afford. You can probably trim down on some of your weaker enablers because Lightning Axe can put some key cards in the graveyard as well.
Mhm.
So maybe Stitcher Supplier is your weaker one.
Break and entering costing two is a big deal, right? Maybe we got to
Eh.
trim on those a little.
It mills a lot though, and the
It
games are going to go
does.
longer when you have
More interaction.
more interaction.
Mhm.
Maybe this cut to ribbons is not something you want in the post-board games. You'd rather be more interactive than go for a card that is just essentially a glorified burn spell that you're milling over. So that you just sort of have to trim along the edges of every type of card in the deck so that you maintain your deck's functionality as much as possible.
All right, on the other side of things, we do have Cody Vanderveer's Abzan Greasefang. And Ross, why don't you take a look at Cody's sideboard and give us the 411? Does anyone even use 411 anymore? Is that an outdated phrase?
Yeah. Instead
Holy
of dialing
crap.
411 for information, we just go to Google.
Wow. I'm old.
Yep. No,
Okay.
no arguments here.
You're, you're a bastard.
Cody's sideboard is all removal: 2 Assassin's Trophy, 2 Baleful Mastery, 2 Extinction Event, 2 Fatal Push, 2 Brave Enfeeblement, 2 Temporary Lockdown, 2 Unlicensed Hearse, and a Dress. So almost all removal, but the Unlicensed Hearses will be great, and the Extinction Event should be quite good as well.
All right. Well, players are about ready here for game number 2. On your right, Cody Vanderveer's Absent Greasefang took down game number 1. On your left, John Alloy will be on the play with his Grixis self-mill deck. It's Dredge. Not really. There's no Dredge cards, but that colloquialism used to describe decks with heavy graveyard synergy.
Yeah.
A turn 1 untapped Steam Events means Otherworldly Gaze on the end step. Just make sure he's got it. He does. Top 3.
I'm going to give it a think. I see a breaking and entering. Looks like we kept a second breaking and entering on top. Milled another gaze, so looks to be a pretty explosive draw from John Alloy. Going to be able to mill through a sizable portion of his deck in the opening 3 turns.
We got a reader. Which one you casting? Mill. Mill 10. Or is it 8? I think it's 8. Glimpse the Unthinkable is 10. This split card breaking and entering does 2 fewer, but it does have entering, which can reanimate something with fuse if you want. But an oldie but a goodie is breaking and entering. Everyone turn sideways so you can read the card.
Alloy
good
does
split
hit
card.
2 prized amalgams and a Silver Smoke Ghoul, but no way to get the Ghoul back. So we'll try to hit one of those creeping chills off of this second breaking and entering probably on this turn.
Now remind me, Ross. Cut ribbons. Red and 1 deal 4 to a target. The backside. Black X. Each opponent loses X life. Do you gain life?
No, they just lose it. It's
That would be
exsanguinate.
cool.
Ooh, no play from Johnson. I do see another split card.
I think he's got a braid in hand, and he's just playing around Greasefang.
Okay.
Because he still has the Otherworldly Gaze he can play.
Yeah, if there's no Greasefang. So smart conservative play from John there.
All right, here's the Greasefang. Here's... I see at least an Eskus Chariot in the graveyard. And now John says specifically, before we move to combat, this is still in your main phase, we're going to blow it up. Sometimes you want to wait until the Greasefang goes on the stack so that you can kill it, and then the Parhelion comes into play with no one to crew it, and it comes back to your hand. But with Eskus Chariot, you just don't want that pressure coming down.
Completely agree.
All right, here's here's another Worldly Gaze.
I think
Look
this
at
is
the top 3.
I think this is an upkeep one to set up the draw step. We do hit a creeping chill off of it, so John going to have 9 power and creatures at least at the end of this turn with that Silver Smoke Ghoul and 2 Amalgams.
Yeah, that's
It's
sick.
by his next turn.
And he has a Lightning Axe on top too, so has protection from a Greasefang from Cody on the next turn. John.
And this is exactly how you drew it up if you're a John Aloy for this matchup. I'm going to go as hard as I can while still leaving up interaction for your Greasefang so I can stop your combo while executing mine.
This is the Pioneer format we could have if Monogreen Devotion was banned, Chad.
Never forget what they stole from us.
Karn the Great Creator is a menace. He
Hey, so
deserves what he gets.
So the Silver Smoke Ghoul comes in on John's end step. That triggers the Amalgam, so they're not on the battlefield quite yet. They'll enter on Cody's end step. Cody.
Here's Greasefang.
Yeah, Greasefang number 2, and
Bang.
we got the answer again.
Grease bang. See ya. Need a third one. Okay, Amalgam's in. Silver Smoke in. Gonna bang for 9, putting Cody down to 6. Let's see if John Aloy can finish him off with a couple Creeping Chills. Perhaps the cut ribbons. We have a Tome Scour and a Breaking and Entering, so we get to look at 13 cards off the top looking for double Creeping Chill. Let's see if we can find it. 1, 2, 3. There's one. And a Silver Smoke Ghoul. We're getting pressure, and we're at a high enough life total where the Greasefang combo doesn't even kill us.
Yeah, I think this game is essentially over.
Same. I don't think Cody... you said Cody might have Extinction Event, right?
Oh, true. The Extinction events on the sideboard can definitely catch him up.
All right. Well, at the end of this attack, there it is. Bang. John Aloy takes game number 2 in explosive fashion. He had the right interaction at the right time. A Braid for the early Greasefang, and then Lightning Axe for the follow-up Greasefang, and a powerful start from him, and a powerful finish.
Yeah, because he was on the play, he got 2 turns to do his own thing before there was any threat of a
Right.
Greasefang entering the battlefield. So he took full advantage, went full bore, milling as much as he could. Then turn 3, he went hold up and answer. Turn 4, hold up and answer. Turn 5, go full bore again, kill you.
Yeah, really powerful stuff there. And these players here, this is 2 games in the books. They know what they're fighting against, graveyard-centric strategies, but neither really has an anti-graveyard card like Leyline of the Void or Tormod's Crypt or anything like that. And you got to wonder, what does the format have to look like for you to play one of those types of cards? And I think it's just Greasefang is like the number 1 deck. That's basically it, because no one needs to play Leyline of the Void to beat the one guy in the room playing Grixis Dredge, or one of the 2 people in the room playing Abzan Greasefang.
Yeah. Now there are a couple unlicensed hearses in Cody Vandeveer's sideboard.
Those could be pretty good.
Yeah, that could be an excellent one here, especially on the play. You're not going to be able to add a ton of cards to your graveyard if you're John Aloy before that one hits the battlefield, if it should come down on turn 2.
All right, and that one does a great job of chewing up the prize amalgams and stuff before they can enter play. Their delayed trigger makes them vulnerable for quite a large window. Now, Aloy going to be on the draw. This Greasefang deck on the play with a good start could be terrifying. See if Aloy's able to grab one of those Lightning Axes or similar to protect himself from an early Greasefang start. I know Cody Vandeveer is going to be digging for it. We talked a little bit after his match earlier, and he knows what's up. He knows the mulligan to Greasefang against the non-interactive decks, or whatever.
Yeah, the card I'd be looking for if I were John Aloy here is Otherworldly Gaze, because that's one of your instant speed enablers, so you can cast it on turn 1, hold up the flashback on turn 2, and still be able to interact with a turn 3 Greasefang from Vandeveer.
Great point. All right, I think I see an Otherworldly Gaze in John Aloy's hand, but I don't see many lands at all.
Yeah, I see 2 Oxen, a Prized Amalgam, a Breaking and Entering, and a Lightning Axe. Is that a 1-lander?
It is a Darkslick Shores, and he's going to throw it back. Cody Vandeveer keeps 7.
He looked at the top 4. I don't think there was a land there, so.
Good mulligan, good mulligan.
Never look.
Some people never look. Are you a never looker?
Yeah, I'm a never looker.
I'm an always looker. You're not supposed to look, because looking, can change how you approach each situation, and every situation is going to be different.
Yeah.
And so you have to make those decisions with complete information. I don't know.
What cards are actually there doesn't change the decision process that you're undergoing, because you didn't have that information.
Unless you have a fun little Doctor Strange moment where you get to look into a potential future if you did keep.
Yeah.
But what it does is color your decision later.
Yep. And if you think you're immune to it, you're not.
No, I'm definitely not.
That looks like 2 Steam Vents, but I'm not sure if I see any interaction for a Greasefang.
Turn 1 Vessel of Nascency from Cody Vanderveer. John Aloy's way. We're going to start with Steam Vents. See if he has Tome Scour or Gaze or something like that. Start the process. Self-milling. There's a Scour. Top 5 going into the grave. Ooh, Creeping Chill and Silver Smoke Ghoul. So we're going to drain for 3 and get back the Ghoul this turn.
Yeah, the old Lava Spike, make a 3-1.
It's pretty good on turn 1.
Yeah, I wouldn't kick it out of bed for eating crackers. That's a third laugh from our director this weekend.
Look, you got to get him while you can because it's pretty rare. All right, John Aloy. Going to attack for 3. Cody Vanderveer likely going to pop Vessel of Nascency, but could play some piece of interaction or Grizzly Salvage instead. John Aloy's hand looks like Ox Vagonis, Tome Scour. I'm looking to see if he has some sort of interaction. I don't think so. Here is another Mill 5. Milled over a couple breaking and entering, but nothing really too scary. A Prize Amalgam that's not coming back anytime soon.
Yeah, has a Witch's Oven, decides not to play it, and he's really just hoping there's no Parhelion here.
All right, finds Greasefang. I see Eska's Chariot. Is that a Parhelion? Is that the alternate art Parhelion? Is that the big boy? Ross, you get to do your boat sound.
No, boat's only for Sky Sovereign.
Aw. Parhelion is a boat. It can be a big boat.
You're a boat.
Here it comes to save the day. Oh, I guess that's not a Parhelion. What is it then?
Maybe it's the one can't stay away?
I don't know. But we're going to be getting back Eska's Chariot, crewing it up, making 3 cats in the process, and then we're going to return Eska's Chariot to hand.
Right. That's pretty good, but it's beatable.
It is beatable. We'll see if John Aloy's able to. It's a ton of pressure, though, especially on turn 3 on the play.
Yeah, because you can recast. Now the Chariot goes back to hand from the Greasefang trigger. You can recast it on turn 4. Yep. Now you're up to 5 cats. That seems like too many cats.
There's no such thing as too many cats, Ross. If you were married, you would know. Here's Witch's Oven. Could have played that last turn, perhaps regretting not doing so, but no third land, no black mana, and we're going to pass it back. Silver Smoke Ghoul, not going to be enough against Eska's Chariot.
Yeah, that's kind of a stalled out draw this game from John Aloy. Needed to mill over a copy of Otherworldly Gaze to keep it going. Because the Gaze, would keep milling and then dig you to another enabler, and then you sort of chain them together. But once the chain stops, it's hard to get it back going again.
All right, we're going to Grizzly Salvage into Rafine's Informant. Do we have a land? We do. Darkboard Pathway. It's going to allow for the Rafine's Informant. We're going to connive, draw and discard a Parhelion, and that's going to be enough.
That's game.
Roll credits. Parhelion coming in. We're going to attack 13 in the air, 6 on the ground. A bunch of the Angels are going to stay and play, even if it's not a physically lethal attack this turn. John Aloy, your days are done. Your tournament's over. You're 3-3. See you later.
Cody Vanderveer is going to end up 4-2, losing to 2 mono green devotion decks.
Yeah, and that's a healthy top 16, though, and a decent day, right? It's hard to ask for better than a 4-2.
Yeah, going to get $65 for his troubles.
Yeah, and if you play Greasefang, you got to go into a tournament knowing that Karn's going to whoop you. Nothing you can do about it.